So my name is Till. I'm currently the Senior Product Director for Global Product Strategy at Delivery Hero. My main focus there is on the topic of experimentation, so A/B testing and really quantifying the behavior of customers. Background-wise, I'm actually a trained mathematician, and in that sense also, like most product people, come from a background that is not product. I then, after getting my master's, I started as a developer, did a PhD in machine learning, worked for a while as a data scientist, and then made my transition into product. Started my product journey at Zalando in the payments area, was at OLX for a while, and then they're also in product, responsible for trust and safety. Before going into the startup world, I mean, if you're in Berlin, you need to experience the startup world. Did that for a couple of years, and then now back in a large corporation at Delivery Hero. Well, that's a pretty simple story. I think we spoke about it from early on, and I was one of the first people who were in NXLab, so kind of saw it from the very beginning. I was just approached, asked if I would be interested in helping out startups. And I mean, back then I was also still in a startup myself, so I could feel the pain of others who just needed the intro into what product is. And I also experienced firsthand how it is to work with founders who also have a very strong vision of what should be happening and how important it is in such constellations to have a strong product role. I just really enjoy helping out companies so that they can truly help a customer and fulfill a customer need. I know how technology and also business prospects can really excite people, but in the end, I want to make sure that they're actually building something worthwhile for their customers. And that's just something that drives me as a product person in general. Just to finding good solutions for customers. I mean, I come from data science, so I also know how it is to be in kind of an ivory tower situation and build things that at the end of the day no one needs, and that's frustrating for everyone involved. So it's kind of wanting to save everyone this frustration. At the end of the day, it's really to make sure that your customers are happy, and that's also the accountability you should be taking as a CPO. To really ensure you build the thing that makes the customer happy and thus makes you money as a company. Because if your customers are happy, then it's very likely that they'll also be willing to pay for the service that you're providing or the product that you're building. Now, the big difference between a CPO in a company and another product person is that as a CPO, you also have this responsibility to align very well with the other founders and also to present the company to the outside world to some extent. And especially closely working with the CEO is the most important part of the internal role of a CPO, because you can only really ensure that you built the right thing for the customers and that you also have the mandate to do so if you work very closely with the founders. And that's usually the biggest challenge in these small companies. Get a really good understanding of the market and get a good understanding of what the customer problem really is, and then negotiating with the other functions. And especially, again, like the CEO role or the sales role are probably the most important functions to work together with in these early stages, because you need to, those are the people that really are closest to the customer usually in these organizations. So it's really important that you understand what the customer wants and can then bring this knowledge back into the organization, and also that you can put on your product goggles. So there's the technique called 5 levels of why, so that you really understand what the underlying customer issue is, and that you don't just go ahead with, well, this customer wanted to have this feature, let's build it, but that you understand, okay, what's the actual reason behind it? What's the problem we should be solving? I think that's a really good question, because the answer is, of course, it depends a bit on the company. In my experience, there is the role of a CPO is very different from the role of a CEO. And if the CEO, who should actually also be very mindful of looking at how to grow the business and how to bring it to the next step, more from like an investor standpoint and really relationship building standpoint, and usually also to some extent from a sales perspective, then there isn't often enough time to also focus on the customer at the depths necessary. And in addition, if you've never really done the product type of work, then you also don't have this whole bag of tools and tricks to apply to the market and to really find out, okay, what's the real need of a customer. And there are certain anti-patterns that I've observed that can occur in these cases, like building exactly just what the customer asks for and not necessarily what they really need. So there's this whole level of research and discovery of what you actually need to be building as a company is just something that as a product person you've usually learned and applied for a while. I know that I've applied this knowledge in companies of very different maturities and scales, and that's exactly the core part, to really understand what does the customer at the end of the day really need. I think the biggest mistake a company can make is to invest in building the wrong thing, because just from as well the opportunity cost as from the actual cost of having built something and spent all the basically the salaries of everyone on building these wrong things that the customer doesn't need, is what you need to prevent as good as possible. And that's exactly where product comes in, and where especially experience can be very valuable, by just knowing the right techniques, knowing how to find what you really should be focusing on, prioritizing that. And not only prioritizing it, but product also has a big part of how do you break things down well enough that you can learn very quickly what the right thing is, so that you don't fall into the trap of really building fully fledged solutions that in the end don't work, but that you start with small enough parts to really find out what you should be doing, that you can then focus all of your energy on the one right thing and don't build the wrong thing twice before you finally figure out what you should be building. That's again a good question. I've seen a lot in my career. So I've supported businesses from a B2B standpoint, as well as from a B2C, as well as being in basically a B2C2C type of platform business. So I've seen a lot. From a personal interest standpoint, I come from a data background, and that's also the background that I think I can support with best. So algorithmically complex products where you tend to have this issue that you need to kind of prioritize between technology and capabilities, as well as customer interest. Those are the types of topics I know best. I have dabbled a bit in the area of the whole crypto markets. So that's also a field I'm interested in. It's a very broad range where I see that I can apply my skill sets, but any of those basically work.